Peace. We back. Episode 135. I hope my voice don't go hoarse today. Yeah, we're back for episode 135. Welcome everybody. I hope y'all enjoy the show. You should give me a, give me okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, well I guess YouTube is working. I heard the echo. I don't know if y'all heard it, but I heard it. Yeah, we're gonna talk about a couple of things today. Um, some technical stuff. Um, just things in general. Some of it might sound like it's being repeated, but it's not being repeated. It's like going more in depth to give y'all a just to let y'all see that things are possible. Everything that developers and people repeat what developers say is a lie. These things are possible to have in a video game. Everything you want in a video game can be put in a video game. It's up to the developers and it's up for the publishers and the investors' permission. And that's crazy. It's your game, but you got to get permission from an outsider. That's crazy. But nevertheless, and these ideas that I be giving and things I be talking about, it's not only for Undisputed. It's for when other companies they see these videos and they could get a gist of what we want. They can understand what we want. All right, let me see. All right, my talking points. I'm gonna start off with this. It's some talking points that I want to talk about. Will casual fans buy old school boxers they don't recognize? The reason why I'm talking about this is because um I had a discussion with King Juice in the Discord. He don't think that a game that has that doesn't have real boxes in it will sell as good as a game with real boxes, but it's bad. So that was the discussion we had. All right. Will casual fans buy old school boxers they don't recognize? Yes, if the game makes them feel legendary. Casual fans don't buy history, they buy vibes and spectacle. If an old school boxer hits hard, moves differently, and is framed as dangerous, casuals accept them instantly. Does name recognition matter more than anything? Recognition helps entry, not adoption. Casual fans regularly fall in love with characters they didn't know before in games, movies, and sports, as long as the representation sells the myth. What makes an unfamiliar boxer appealing to casuals? Three things: visual identity, stance, trunks, posture, era styling. Gameplay identity. This guy hits like a trunk, or this guy never stops coming. Narrative framing. Short, punchy context that explains why they matter. See that part right there. The third, you explain to the casual fans how great certain fighters are, or you know, give them a history of us boxers that you have in the game. Have games proven this works before? Absolutely. Look at how casual fans embrace older or lesser known fighters in Fight Night series. Many players discovered legends through the game first, not through boxing history. What about players who only want modern stars? They still experiment. Once modern stars are exhausted, players gravitate towards fighters who feel different. Old school boxers thrive because their styles break patterns modern boxers don't. Do casual care that they don't know the boxer's name? Not really. Casuals really have a casual remember how a boxer feels, not what era they're from. If someone is fun, powerful, or dominant, their name becomes familiar through a play. How do you sell an old school boxer without history lessons? You don't lecture, you label. Relentless pressure monster. One punch finisher. Impossible to hurt. That's enough. Let's let gameplay do the rest. What kills interest in old school boxers? Treating them like museum pieces. If they're slower, weaker, and watered down for balance, casual bounce immediately. Legends must feel unfair in the right ways. Legends must feel unfair in the right way. Do old school boxers help or hurt sales? They help retention. They add variety, fantasy matchups, and replay value. Even casual players like asking, what if? And old school fighters are pure what if fuel. What's the real what's the real rule? Casual fans don't reject unfamiliar boxers, they reject boring ones. Casual fans will absolutely buy and use old school boxers if they feel unique, they feel powerful. The game treats them like stars, make them play legendary, and recognition takes care of itself. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. Okay. Let me see if there's anybody coming in here while I was reading. What's up, Mike Adams? Mike Adams in the place. Mike Evans 7904. If Claimer game is really good, no one will mind about licensed fighters. The gameplay is vital. Good luck to him, I tell you. Yeah. People keep trying to say that you need real boxers to capture fans, but a lot of these casual fans only know probably 7 boxers. If there's 300, if there was 1,000 boxers, they will only know 7 of them. And if I'm being generous, they know 10 of them. So that shows who's the selling point is, who's buying these DLCs and stuff. Casual fans will not buy these DLCs like a hardcore boxing fan. Then they find out that the character doesn't fight like himself. And that's the thing that be get me upset. Let me see. Give me a second. Give me a second. I got a couple of scripts. I'll be separating them so I don't get too confused. Give me a second. Okay, give me a second. Mhm. All right. I got some deep dive talking points. Um, the genre doesn't need agreement; it needs lanes. Boxing itself doesn't require agreement. Pressure fighters exist, counter punches exist, technicians exist, brawlers exist. No one tells boxers to pick one style for the whole sport. So why do we keep doing that to boxing games? The problem is a disagreement. It's that the game doesn't clearly support multiple lanes by design. Depth isn't about difficulty, it's about identity. This is where people talk past this is where people talk past each other. Depth isn't about making the game harder. Depth is about letting boxers behave differently. Tendencies, traits, sliders, AI logic, these don't exist to punish players. They exist to give the sport its identity. Removing depth doesn't make the game more accessible. It makes the boxers feel interchangeable. Basic. Players are not players are not the opposition. Here's something we haven't said plainly enough. Players who just want to jump in and play are not standing in the way of realism. They're standing in their own lane. The issue starts when that lane becomes the only one allowed. That's not accessibility, that's exclusion in reverse. Yeah, it's exclusion in reverse. It's like they're not they're pushing the hardcore fans out. Options are the compromise everyone keeps missing. This shouldn't be controversial anymore. Options are not fragmentations. Options are respect. Preset preset sliders, rule sets, mode specific tuning. These are how modern sports games serve different audience without conflict. The absence of options is why the community keeps fighting. A larger player base already wants different things. This isn't hip hop. Right now, the boxing game audience includes people who love tendencies and sliders, creation tools and editing, offline career and CPU versus CPU, online competitive play, slower some pacing, faster casual pacing. That diversity is real, and ignoring it is what causes friction. Unity is about process, not preference. Unity does not mean agreeing on realism levels, liking the same modes, wanting the same pacing. Unity means agreeing on how decisions should be made. And that means asking players directly, gathering data, letting multiple play styles exist. Why surveys are the turning point. I know y'all say, hey man, you've been saying surveys for the last 3 days, 4 days. And I'm gonna push for the survey. And I need y'all to help me. Why surveys are the turning point. Surveys don't decide winners. They expose they expose distribution. They show how many players want depth, how many want simplicity, and where overlap actually exists. Without that data, every argument is just option versus option. Let me see. Why does this sound like something I read yesterday? Give me a second. I gotta check my notes. 34. Yeah, it is. What happened to my I was reading yesterday, but I can't find my I can't find my script. I guess I'm gonna have to do it like this. Oh yeah. Let me hit y'all with some technical talk right now. This should be easy. I mean, this should be it could be boring or fun. All right. A parrying system in a boxing game should feel subtle, skill-based, and situational, not like a flashy fighting game counter. And real boxing parries are micro movements, slow deflections that creates tiny openings. Translating that correctly is all about intent, timing, angle, and consequences. Below is a complete grounded design that fits both simulation, learning, and accessibility play styles. Something you could scale with sliders rather than locking everyone into one fill. The design philosophy. What parrying is in boxing games. A boxing game should redirect a punch, not stop it cold. Fight night round 3 requires anticipation, not reaction. Hold on, let me make it so. Let me read it so it sounds like it makes sense. A boxing game should require anticipation, not reaction mashing. A boxing parry should create positional or timing advantages, not guaranteed counters. A boxing parry should be low commitment but high skill. A good game rewards reading rhythm. A good system rewards hand positioning. A good system rewards foot placement. A good system rewards fatigue awareness. Parry should fail gracefully. Mistiming doesn't explode into punishment. It just puts you slightly off. Core parry types map to reality. Each parry is directional, hand specific, and contextual. Jab, straight parry, inside and out. Cross parry, rear hand catch, redirect. Downward parry, body and low straight. Double hand framing. Not a true parry. It slows punches and absorbs some impact. Sort of what George Foreman does. The older George Foreman. Controller mapping. Control first, no gimmicks. This assumes standard modern controllers, PlayStation or Xbox. Because a lot of people saying, how can you put the parry on the controller? Say it's going to confuse a lot of people, or there's not enough buttons on there. So let me say, a guard modifier and directional. This keeps parries intentional and prevents spam. You hold guard, L2 or LT, left trigger. Flick right stick toward incoming punch, directional. It's a breakdown, but a lot of people keep saying this can't be added. I got a whole list right here breaking it down. Hand specific parry parry buttons for some players who want total control. I got all this. Contextual assist parries, accessibility toggles for casual players. Holding guard plus correct timing automatically attempts a parry. Directional input refines it, but isn't mandatory. Behind the scenes, AI selects the most plausible parry, reduce effectiveness versus manual input. That's for the casuals. It's not for the hardcore fans. Timing window is the heart of the system. Let me see. Okay, give me some. And there are different parrying styles. You got conservative, you got disruptive, they're rhythm breaker. You got counter-oriented parries. You have aggressive and dominant parries. Lazy, efficient parries. There's so many different ways you could use the parry. A lot of people be looking at it as just a simple movement or a simple thing that's just holding your hand out and stuff and blocking a punch. No, there's so many variants to a parry. And every boxer should have unique parries if that's what they want to put in their defensive style. Let me see who's here. Okay. What's up, Charlotte Phrase 187? Poe, is it fair to say that the state of gaming is all about profit instead of passion and hardcore gamers fans have no say? Yes and no. I say yes and no because Jay MMA proved the point, and like I keep saying, content creators don't realize how powerful they are. I'm not a major content creator, but I'm pushing as hard as I can to get more eyes on me, and I can represent the community. But actually, the community can represent itself, because I will be trying to bring people along with me if anything happened that I'm pulled in. All right, yeah, but it's not if we come together and we push for that survey, that's our voices right there. They can't the investors, the publishers, or nobody can say, hey, no, we y'all don't know. No, people will say, y'all don't know what y'all want. Excuse me, I'm tired because I've been up doing a lot of different things. Dang. But I'm gonna push through. Excuse me. Yeah, yeah, it's on us, the survey. We gotta push for that survey because they cannot turn it down. The publishers and the investors will not turn down that survey. Even if Ash or the company turn it down, that don't mean nothing. The investors and the publishers. Shalom Phrase said nobody wants to learn nowadays, Poe. Just look at modern controls and Street Fight, special styles and Tekken. exploits and undisputed and one button combos and 2 times KO is easier. The better is the model today. It's easier, the better is the model today. Okay. The easier, the better the model. Yeah, it's crazy that but we gotta stick together. We really have to stick together. We gotta get each other to push for this survey. You know, I'm not gonna go nowhere. I'm not gonna leave the survey situation alone because I know that a survey will get us what we want. But we keep saying it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. No, it's not a waste of time. What's a waste of time is we keep letting them give us the same thing over and over that we never asked for. That's a waste of time. Let me see. I wonder what happened to my post. Oh, there you go. No, that's not it. Give me a second, y'all, please. Let me see. Oh, there you go. Let's stop pretending this is about realism versus fun. That argument is a distraction. The real issue with boxing video games right now is that we keep fighting over outcomes instead of demanding structure. We're arguing about how the game should feel without ever agreeing on how different players are supposed to coexist. That's the that's backwards. This genre doesn't need everyone to agree. It needs room. Room for depth, room for simplicity, room for offline players, room for online players, room for creators, sliders, tendencies, and quick play. And most importantly, room for people to stop telling each other what's fun. This genre doesn't need agreement, it needs lanes. Boxing has never been one thing. Pressure fighters exist, counter punches exist, technicians exist, brawlers exist. Let me see. This sound like I read this. Give me a second. Let me see. Give me a second. Yeah, a lot of people they always talk about who should speak about boxing and who shouldn't speak about boxing. Then they tell us let the developers do their job. They don't need us to say anything. But then them same people that says that they come right around, then they start telling the developers what they need to do, or they got opinions. The thing is, they don't want certain people to speak. It's not like I don't know what I'm talking about, but people still don't want me to speak. Or they'll say, you want too much. We should want more than what I want, because we live in an age of technology and we're giving up money. A person that's a customer, they know when they feel cheated. A person that's a customer know when they feel like they're being cheated. Here's something we haven't talked about yet. Every argument in the boxing game community eventually comes back to one unspoken assumption. Someone thinks they're speaking for everyone. Someone thinks they're speaking for everyone. And it's the craziest thing. A lot of these people feel that they're speaking for us. They're not really boxing fans. They became boxing fans when Steel City came around. They became boxing fans a year ago. They became boxing fans 2 years ago. And they feel that they could speak for us. I see jokers that's content creators I never seen on their channel that they were watch. They watching boxes and they giving their opinion about it. And then I'm listening to them. I'm saying, let me see where his head at. Let me see, do he know what he talking about? And then I'm listening to him. The joke is super casual, just saying he talking like he's playing a video game. He's look how far back he went. Oh, look at this and look at that. I'm like, yo, man, your commentary is garbage. A lot of these guys are pure garbage and try to pretend that they should have a voice. See, they want their voice to be heard. They just want to be seen. That's some girl stuff. You want to be seen. Someone thinks they're speaking. The argument in the boxing community eventually comes back to one unspoken assumption. Someone thinks they're speaking for everyone, not just players, developers too. Yup, they are like they speak for the developers too. And that's where things start breaking, because boxing as a sport has never had one voice, one style, one definition. So why do boxing video games keep pretending it does? Boxing had always been plural. Games pretend it's singular. Boxing history isn't a straight line. It's contradiction, defense versus pressure, movement versus power, patience versus aggression. There was never a meeting where boxing decided this is what it should be. But in video games, that's exactly what happens. One vision wins, everything else gets trimmed. Fun is often used to silence minority play styles. I'm going to keep harping on this fun thing because it's annoying to me. This is the uncomfortable part. When people say that wouldn't be fun, what they usually mean is that wouldn't be fun for my play style. But instead of saying that honestly, it gets elevated into that shouldn't exist. 100%. That's not feedback, that's erasure. Developers inherit community bias without realizing it. Here's something that doesn't get talked about. Developers listen most to the loudest feedback, the fastest reactions, the most visible complaints. That feedback often comes from online first players, competitive only voices, people who don't touch sliders, AI, or offline modes. Not because those players are wrong, but because other lanes are quieter. Silence becomes invisibility. Options are a feature. I mean, Options aren't a feature. They're representations. This is a this is a new framing. Options aren't about balance. They're about who gets represented. Sliders represent deep thinkers, presets represent accessibility, offline modes represent long-term players, online modes represent competition-focused players. Removing options doesn't simplify design, it chooses who matters. Let me see. Community infighting mirrors design flexibility. Here's the connection people miss. When a game only supports one dominant style, player players defense. No, when a game only supports one dominant style, players defend that style. When a game only supports one dominant style, other players feel pushed out. When a game only supports one dominant style, arguments become personal. The community conflict is a synonym, not the cause. Rigid design creates tribalism. Rigid design creates tribalism, separation basically. Unity doesn't mean agreement, it means legitimacy. This is the pivot. Unity isn't everyone likes the same pacing. Unity isn't everyone wants realism. Unity isn't everyone plays the same modes. Unity is saying every lane is legitimate. Once that's agreed on, the arguments lose power. Surveys are not visible. Surveys are about visibility, not voting. Told you I'm gonna keep talking about surveys until we get something going. Somebody gotta put a survey together. We gotta put Still City or y'all sign my survey. Y'all want to sign it? Just ask me in the chat and stuff, and I'll put it up there so you can sign it. You fill it out. Trying to get at least 100 or 200. If we get 200 people to sign that survey, it's going to open eyes. Not for Still City, other companies. Other companies are waiting for it. Other companies are waiting for the survey. If y'all want to fill out my survey, but Still City should make their own. And it'll inspire companies to make a survey. Even though they might read mine, but they might make their own. They say, oh, surveys works. All right, we'll make our own. Surveys are about visibility, not voting. New angle here. Surveys aren't about majority rules. They're about making invisible players visible. They surface sliders users. They surface offline players. They surface CPU versus CPU fans. They surface creation heavy players. Without surveys, these players don't disappear. They just don't count. Content creators decide who is seen. Creators don't just review games, they decide which play styles get airtime. They decide which complaints are serious. They decide which ideas are mocked as unrealistic, often unintentionally. That power, whether they want it or not, content creators have the power. The real danger isn't disagreement, it's dele- delegitimization. Disagreement is healthy. What kills a genre is your way of enjoying this. What kills a genre is your way of enjoying this doesn't belong. That message from fans or devs shrinks the audience every time. The unified ask, new wording, not repeated, not make it realistic, not make it casual, not pick a direction, but stop deciding who boxing is for, but give us the tools to decide for ourselves. That's the line. I got some Q&As. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. Nobody wants to. Let me see. I say all this because gaming is something that has been giving me purpose. Also, because I am disabled and I look for no shortcuts in learning games, especially fighting games. Who should speak about boxing is boxers, trainers, promoters, anyone who can lace up a pair of gloves, and fans, everyone, but not the ones who don't understand boxing at all, not the clout chasers. Yeah, 100%. Everybody trying to jump in the chair like they know what they're talking about. Lamont Davis, what's up, my brother? Undisputed has 70K followers. If 5K followers fill out the survey, the investors will pay a 100%. See, now that's what I'm talking about. If we get 1,000 people to fill out the survey, that right there, 1,000 people, that right there would get attention. It would get attention. But everybody got that mindset. It's not going to work. But they always saying it's not going to work, but they stay in the Discord asking, when are we going to get some more news? When are we going to get more DLC? You're just sitting there asking for things and you're not getting it. At least with this survey, it's out there. It's being read. Let me see. All right, let me get back to this. Let me read these. All right, I got some questions, Q&As. What does it feel like only one type of players? Why does it feel like only one type of player is heard? Because feedback, visibility doesn't mean player population. Um, is asking for death the same as asking for forced realism? No. Death is optional by design. Why do some players feel threatened by options? They fear losing default status. Or slight as a niche request only if you ignore silent users. What does why does offline matter if online exists? Because not everyone measures fun through competition. Okay, give me a second. Give me a second, y'all. Uh-huh. Design bias starts before players ever touch the game. Here's a blind spot people rarely talk about. Design bias often comes from who's in the room, who leadership listens to, which play styles are easiest to test, which modes generate fast feedback. That's the thing right there. Which modes generate fast feedback? Online competition play always screams the loudest because it breaks fastest. That doesn't mean it's the most important. It means it's the most visible. Silent doesn't mean satisfaction. I mean, it means displacement. A lot of death-oriented players don't argue. They leave, they mod, they simulate properly, they stop posting, they stop engaging publicly. Then a false narrative forms. Nobody wants this. No, these players just weren't served. When players argue about fun, they really argue about legitimacy. Most fights aren't actually about mechanics, they're about this unspoken question. Does my way of enjoying this game counts? Once that question enters the room, everybody gets emotional because now it's not about sliders or pacing. It's about being told you don't belong. Realism and arcade are lazy labels. Here's the new angle. Those labels hide real questions like, do boxers behave differently? Do decisions matter? Do mistakes compound? Do styles create trade-offs? A game can be fast and still deep. A game can be accessible and still authentic. The label keeps us stuck in surface arguments. Give me a second. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat. 1,000, I feel, will start something, but 5K will grab attention. Oh, 100%. 100%. We get 5K. Oh, man. It's just that it's still City going to make a survey. I made one, and it's not getting no shine. That's why I said, even with my survey, the content creators can help push it. They can tell all their followers to sign it. You know, content creators, y'all guys, all y'all followers just signed it and just signed it to see where does it go. You never know. We don't know where to go. No, signed it and explain to them it's not only for Still City, it's for other game companies that want to make a boxing game. They literally want to make a boxing game. But by giving them data, they have no reason to say, all right, you know, they'll see that the fans did. That's the thing. That's the whole thing. Because a lot of them, they was excited. A lot of developers were excited when ESBC version was out. And then they got disappointed when it changed. I'm gonna keep saying that every show. A lot of people be thinking I'm over exaggerating. No. A lot of a lot of developers, they love what they saw when they saw the ESBC. They was like, yo. All right, let me see. Oh, man, excuse me. All right. Let me see. Analytics are quietly redefining boxing without saying so. Here's something most players don't realize. Modern sports games are increasingly designed around what is easier to measure, not what is most authentic. Punch counts, win rates, session length, online retention. Things like ring IQ, patience, tactical restraint, psychological pressure are hard to quantify. So they slowly disappear, not because they are not important, but because dashboards can't see them. That's not malicious, it's structural. And boxing suffer more than most sports because its best moments are often in action, not action. Playtesting funnels bias games toward a single skill type. Most internal playtesting focus on speed, reactions, consistency, repeatable outcomes that favor execution-heavy playstyles. Boxing boxing also rewards timing deception, mental traps, patience, baiting mistakes. Those skills don't show up cleanly in testing results. Yeah, because you don't got boxing fans testing a boxing game. You got fighting game fans and you got MMA fans testing a boxing game. And their mentality is a fighting game and MMA. Those skills don't show up cleanly in test results. So over time, the game drifts toward what testers can reliably reproduce, not what boxing actually rewards. See, the play testers, they intentionally and unintentionally make the games go toward what's comfortable for them. Q&A debt is why small fixes never feel small. Q&A debt is why small fixes never feel small. Here's a reality developers rarely say publicly. In complex combat games, one mechanic touches 10 systems. So when fans say, why not just tweak stamina? Why not just add clinch and death? Why not just adjust AI behavior? They don't see the QA depth behind the scenes, animation desync, AI decision drops, decision loops, online edge cases, legacy assumptions. This doesn't excuse missing depth, but it explains why shallow foundations become permanent. The genre is quietly being designed for spectators, not players. The genre is quietly becoming designed for spectators, not players. Another blind spot. A growing amount of design is influenced by clips, streams, highlights, watchability. Fastest changes look good on video. Subtle control doesn't. So the game slowly optimized for being watched, not being understood. Boxing, more than most sports, loses something vital when it becomes spectator first. Modern communities are treated as side effects instead of signals. In almost every sports game, modders end up fixing AI behavior, restoring pacing, adding simulation layers, rebalancing systems. Instead of seeing this as a threat, studios should see it as a free research. When hundreds of players independently mod the same thing, that's not niche behavior. That's unmet demand. Esports aspiration quietly flattens sports games. Even without official esports plans, many games designs as if they'll need to be tournament safe. That means fewer asymmetricies, fewer edge cases, fewer unfair styles, more predictability. Boxing is inherently unfair. Design it as if it needs competitive symmetry erodes its identity. Designing it as if it needs competitive symmetry erodes its identity. Nostalgia compresses how good old games actually were. A new angle rarely discussed. Fans don't remember old boxing games accurately. They remember how they felt at the time. Those games often had glaring exploits, limited AI, shallow systems, but they also had clearer identities, fewer compromises, stronger thematic focus. The lesson isn't go backwards. It's clarity beats completeness. Clarity beats completeness. Creator algorithm rewards extremes, not nuance. Content platforms reward hot takes, strong opinions, simplified narratives. Death versus arcade performs better than multiple systems can coexist with trade-off. Creators aren't wrong. They're responding to incentives. Creators aren't wrong. They're responding to incentives. But the incentive structure slowly warps community discourse. Boxing is one of the few sports where losing well manners. Boxing is one of the few sports where losing well matters. This is almost never discussed. In boxing, survival. In boxing, damage mitigation. In boxing, composure under pressure are achievements, even in defeat. Most games treat losing as failures only. When games don't model losing well, they miss a huge part of boxing emotional truth. The real gap is design literacy, not patience. The community has patience. What it often lacks is sharing language, how systems interact, why trade-offs exist, what constraints actually matter. Without that literacy, conversations default to this feels wrong. That's not fun. But they can't give you context. People always say something that's not fun, but they can't give you context. And because they always say realism, too much realism, not gonna be fun. Get out of it with that nonsense. That means you're not a boxing fan. Let me see. Why do boxing games feel more simplified over time, not more complex, because measurable outcomes slowly replace expressive ones. Why does speed dominate so many metas? Y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that to the people that always cry about metas? Why does speed dominate so many metas? Because speed is easier to test, balance, and spectate. Why don't developers talk openly about Q&A depth? Because it sounds like excuses without context. Why do highlight friendly mechanics keep getting priority? Because visibility drives perception. That's what the ESBC was. Why are modders often ahead of official patches? Why are modders often ahead of official patches? Because they aren't constrained by shipping schedules. Why does esports thinking creep in even without esports? Because symmetrics feel safe. Why is unfair hard to design? Why is unfairness hard to design but essential to boxing? Because it requires accepting imbalance, imbalance as identity. Because it requires accepting imbalance as identity. Why do older games feel more honest despite limitations? Because they are committed to fewer, clearer goals. Why do creators simplify debates even when they know better? Because algorithms punish nuances. Why is losing poorly the only thing games models well? Because success states are easier to define. Because success states are easier to define. Why doesn't boxing rewards restraint in games the way it does in real life? Because restraint doesn't spike metrics. Why do fans talk past each other so often? Because they're describing feelings without sharing frameworks. Why does pacing get treated as preference instead of structure? Because structure is harder to articulate. Why do games struggle to model psychological pressure? Because it's imminent, not scripted. Why is CPU versus CPU undervalued as a test bed? Because it exposes system flaws too clearly. See? Why is CPU versus CPU undervalued as a test bed? Because it exposes system flaws too clearly. Why does iteration slow down after launch? Because risk tolerate drops once money is on the line. Because risk tolerance drops once money is on the line. Now I'm gonna say it one more time to the people that probably popped in. We have to get a survey. Surveys do work. People just scared to matter. It's like you're scared to matter, let your voice matter in a situation. Let me see. Give me a second, y'all. I got a different screen. I can't see everything like I used to see. We got 5 people watching. All right. Appreciate the 5 people that's here. Please make sure you hit the like button. Nobody hit the like button yet. Please hit the like button. Share it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please subscribe. Let me see. Wait a second. Yeah. Yeah, we got to sit together. And, I apologize to the people that, I offended. Some of them I don't, but, I apologize to some of y'all that I offended, with the things that I've said in the past 2 days ago. All right. Why boxers need to speak up more. Why shouldn't players rely only on content creators to speak for them? Because creators amplify voices. They don't replace them. Silence from players weakens the signal creators can carry. Why shouldn't players rely on content creators to speak for them? Because creators amplify voices. They don't replace them. Silence from players weakens the signal creators can carry. Why do developers often underestimate what players actually want? Because most players don't articulate why they play the way they do. Only when they're angry. Why is silence from satisfied but concerned players dangerous? Because silence get interpreted as approval, not patience. Why do only extreme opinions seem to shape direction? Because moderate players rarely speak up in organized ways. Why do people who care about death hesitate to be vocal? Because they don't want to be labeled elitist, negative, or anti fun. Why is that label so effective at shutting people up? Because community backlash feels more immediate than studios' indifference. Why does being vocal matter more than just playing the game? Because gameplay data shows what happens, not why it matters. Why can't developers infer intent from analytics alone? Because analytics can measure frustration. Analytics can't measure frustration, compromise, or resignation. Why do many players assume the devs already know? Because communication gaps make it feel pointless to repeat concerns. Why does repetition actually matter? Because consistency turns complaints into patterns. Because consistency turns complaint into patterns. Why do players tend to speak only when things are broken, not when systems are missing? Because death feels abstract, while bugs feel tangible. Why is missing death harder to complain about than bugs? Because it requires explaining design, not pointing at errors. Why should boxers explain how they play, not just what they dislike? Because play style context gives feedback meaning. Why does this feel wrong? Why does this feel wrong get ignored more than this crash? Because feelings without explanations are easy to dismiss. Why does structural feedback beat raw frustration every time? Because it's actionable. Why do players underestimate their collective influence? Because individually their voice feels small. Yeah, we gotta come together, fill out some surveys and stuff. We gotta come together. Why does uncoordinated feedback lose impact? Because it looks like noise instead of intent. Why does timing matter when players speak up? Because early repeated feedback shapes roadmaps. That's what I be telling y'all. Get your feedback in early. If they starting on Undisputed 2, get your feedback, your wish list and everything in early. You know, let me see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. This is gonna be a quick show today. I appreciate you, Charlene Fraser and Lamont Davis, for coming through. Think I'm gonna end the show early today. You know, shout out to AJ Pax, shout out to Don D 205, shout out to Remy, shout out to JMMA. Thanks for showing up the other day. Shout out to King Juice. We was talking today. We had we had a disagreement about a disagreement about the topic of uh now suppose you get a game, right, and have all the boxers that casual fans would love to be in the game. So then you got all the characters that they can name that they actually know of, but the game is broken and it doesn't have mechanics versus a game that doesn't have real boxers, but it have great boxing mechanics. It has all these different molds. As you know, it looks like boxing, different styles and everything, just not real characters. And we was talking about which one would sell better, and he said the one without real names would not sell better. Everybody would buy the game with the boxer's name. But I was telling them, if let's give the scenario, I know y'all gonna say, Poe, you always boosting the numbers up. But listen, if we had 1,000 boxers in a game, that the casual fans would only know 10 out of 1,000 boxers. They will only know 10 boxers. Casual fans don't know all the boxers. You can even hear it in the conversations. They say, yeah, what's his name? Fighting, what's the name? Say stuff like that. But I'm gonna end with this. Please push for a survey, and please, if you're on Twitter, please fill out my poll that I put up there. Okay, give me a second. Yes. Okay. Uh, yeah. No, not yet. Okay. All right, y'all. Peace. I appreciate y'all coming through. And that was real ghetto of me being on the phone while I'm doing the show. But I'll see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm gonna try to do a longer show to make up for me having a short show today. But that when I did the show the day before yesterday, I did 3 shows back. I mean, I did 2 3-hour shows. I think 3.5-hour shows. So that's 7 hours. And then I did half an hour video, less than half an hour, but still that's a lot of time. That's wear and tear, especially when I got other things I got to do. But peace, everybody. Peace. I appreciate y'all. And please help me push the survey. Please help push the survey. Peace.